Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Rational Trader Podcast. JD here with my co-host Louis Navalier. It's the last trading day of the summer, August 29th, Louis, and I guess the markets are waiting patiently for the A team to return from the beach.
Yep. It's deader than dead. Okay.
This always happens, and you call it every time.
Yep. Yep. It's New York's a ghost town.
But the markets, it would seem like the Robin Hood meme stock crowd has really been in control in August. It's been quite a month for the bulls.
Yeah, it was a great month. Nvidia is down today, but that's nothing to worry about. I think Nvidia is a screaming buy here, so I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Yeah, I Nvidia was really the story of the week, and their earnings I thought were very good, very conservative because it didn't include anything from China. We did get news this morning. Alibaba apparently is trying to get into the chip manufacturing business. What a joke.
Yeah, that came up on Fox News today. I was on Fox News this morning, and I dismissed it.
The market, there are these algorithms that trade on news headlines, which is really kind of a diabolical way to approach your investing and trading.
Hmm.
So that's probably why Nvidia is down. I would use this dip as an opportunity. Maybe wait till the end of the day. Maybe even wait until the first couple weeks of September go by. Are you expecting September to be strong or weak this year?
It's going to be weak the first half of the month because it's just seasonal pressure. It's a lot of it's estimated tax payments. A lot of people are always behind on their tax withholding, so they have to sell stocks to make their estimated tax payments, and uh, that's the main reason. So after the 15th, we'll be okay. Fortunately, we have the Fed meeting on the 17th.
Yeah, and that I would think that irrespective of the jobs numbers on Friday, that the rate cut is 100% guaranteed, and that really the only risk is that if that jobs report comes in strong, it might be a one and done, and it might only be 25 bips.
That's correct. But Governor Waller is talking about a bigger rate cut than just 25 if we have a bad payroll report. The Powell said they're 100 basis points above the neutral rate, so everybody's signaling more rate cuts this year. Also, the ECB will probably be cutting next week. They really have to be careful because we have deflation in real estate right now,
Hmm.
and energy prices are soft despite the fact that Russia has been kicked off of the global market because Ukraine's bombed all the terminals and pipelines, and we got pressure on India not to buy the Russian oil. So what's happening is crude prices are going down anyway, despite these disruptions because demand drops in the fall. But also Goldman Sachs is predicting $55 a barrel oil next year.
And what's their basis for that?
The glut. We got a glut.
Hmm. And you have, boy, it's fascinating, watching various interested parties and how they all respond to President Trump. And in the case of the Saudis, it's been to turn on the spigots.
That's right. That's right. And they all need the money, all these OPEC members, so they're just going to pump.
You have deflation in housing, lower oil prices. I've been talking about a deflationary bomb that likely will go off at some point in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of next year driven by economic weakness, which is why I've been saying the Federal Reserve needs to cut rates by 300 basis points, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I would add that how do I say in a nice way, the our Treasury Secretary has pointed out that 88% of the stocks are held by the top 12% of households. The next 12% of stocks are held by the next 38% of households. The other 50% of households are just in debt. And
Hmm.
those are the people they have to help with their tax cuts, etc.
Yeah, you set me up perfectly because what I was going to say is that what's needed at the Federal Reserve, forget about the personnel and the battles with the administration as far as uh, bringing in sycophants. What really needs to happen is uh, a Federal Reserve that thinks about things in a new way, in a different way, because the old ways are clearly not working. I I find it astounding that they're uh, and I guess it's understandable because, they're going to be ultra conservative with monetary policy as they should be. But I've always said they're missing a wonderful opportunity to think outside the box in a way that can lift all the boats.
Well, under Powell, they ignored the economic data for 5 months. And so they screwed up. So now they got to
Well, just like he did with the inflation, he ignored
yeah,
that data too.
I know. It's
Trans,
only 14% of the CPI, and he blew it out of proportion.
yeah, yeah. One of the topics I wanted to go over with you, Louis, was the news out of England and this inane idea of taxing their banks.
Well,
What's
Britain
that
is,
all about?
well, first of all, Britain's a mess. The Starmer chased the wealthy out to Guernsey, Jersey, and other places. There's no worldwide tax in Britain, so when you leave, you don't owe them anything. There's also no exit tax. When you leave Canada, they put an exit tax on you. So when they leave Canada, they really want to leave. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they kind of kick you on the way out. But the half the Brits can't pay their electric bills because of they went green, and there's nothing wrong with going green. It's just that the farther up you are in the hemisphere, the less it works. So
Hmm.
it does work in the summertime, but then it come winter, they wonder why their electricity is so expensive. And of course, Stahmer is a net zero guy, so he's basically shutting down a lot of the oil exploration in and around Scotland. And so I don't know, maybe wants the Scottish to succeed. So it's this is a big problem. We have the Mercedes chief for the second time demanding that the EU remove their EV mandates because they're all going to be out of business.
Hmm.
And they've been successful selling EVs in Europe. Volkswagen is beating Tesla now, but their profits have collapsed because EVs don't have the profits of the engine vehicles. Mercedes has some pretty good electric cars in the pipeline, but again, there's a margin problem. And the real issue is that uh, they're making them. This is unique to Europe right now. It's not anywhere else in the world. And uh, Stellantis owns a 2.95 billion in fines for emission problems. And well, the EU says we'll build more EVs. Well, they can't compete with China because they're jumping the Chinese EVs on Europe. So if my name is Stellantis, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, I just gotta if the EU continues to push these net zero mandates on them, I would just pack up and move all my operations to America. We don't have those rules. They can build ICE vehicles without any repercussions. Our electricity is a fourth of the cost it is in Germany. Our labor is cheaper. They'll get all this money from states to move. And so this is the conundrum they've caused. And there are places like New Zealand that was obviously want to be net zero because New Zealand's a very beautiful place and they're very pro-environment. But when they told them to start killing their animal herds to reduce CO2, they started to think a little like, what do you mean I got to kill my animals to comply with net zero? You know?
Right.
So, the crazy people that from Davos and stuff are not in charge anymore. There's a big struggle for who's going to take over Davos. Tom Steyer wants it bad. I'm sure Al Gore would like to have it too, but I find it's getting to be very interesting lately.
Louis, one of the economic data points today showed that imports are accelerating in the US, which I find interesting given all of the tariffs. To me, that just shows how the appetite to participate in the huge liquidity pool that is the United States and the money supply pool, which is expanding here.
Well, let's be very clear on something. The uh we don't have tariffs on extreme tariffs on Canada and Mexico yet because USMCA. They just dropped some tariffs on Germany because they did a tit for tat on they dropped Europe dropped some tariffs on some machine products from the US, so then we dropped that on them. So the haggling never ends. We don't have tariffs on China now because we're still trying to figure that out.
Right.
So, I mean, new tariffs on China. So we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I've said it all along that trade in general is extremely complex. I mean, if there was a way to, magically wave a wand and I don't know what that would even look like, because once you go down the rabbit hole of, well, what do we do with this country? What do we do with this product? You're creating chaos.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the tariffs are tit for tat. So if they didn't tariff us, we wouldn't tariff them. So
well,
we
my
just
point is, it seems like a horribly inefficient way to go about things that all would be resolved with a consumption tax. We
that's
should
what
have
tariffs
free
are. They're a
trade. We should
consumption
have
tax.
zero tariffs.
No,
We
the
should be
consumption
okay with that.
the consumption tax is the same as a VAT. So you have to understand when you collect money, what does it cost you to get that? If it costs you 5 cents to get a dollar, that's not efficient. If it costs you 0.01 cent to get a dollar, that's efficient. So putting tariffs on at the ports is efficient. It's
Right.
probably more efficient than a VAT tax. And it also encourages onshoring, which is good for America. And they're trying to onshore automotive, semiconductors, and of course, pharma. That's why they have a 39% tax on Switzerland, tariff on Switzerland. And the Swiss were very upset and they got on the plane, visit them, and Trump didn't meet him. Rubio had to say hi to him. But it was so bad when the Swiss showed up, they didn't have a meeting with Trump and his tariff team.
Mm.
So they're not messing around. Okay. Income taxes are interesting. The IRS guy resigned because they wanted to know who's got withholding taxes but not filing tax returns. So it's very interesting right now.
It is, and these are all variables that I think the market has put on the back burner, including the clash between Trump and the Federal Reserve. I was, you know, expecting a bigger reaction to the firing of Lisa Cook. Now,
Why?
it
She's
could be,
incompetent. She was a DEI hire. She does nothing.
I don't disagree with you.
She's and also if you're a banking regulator, you don't want to lie in your application.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I
So,
and
it's all
her
part of
Look, I should she go to jail for this?
Well,
Absolutely.
but she did slam Trump before he got in, and she was mouthing off and talking about she's talking to her European allies and how to manage him and deal with him and how to manipulate him, and she screwed up. Okay, she should
Listen,
have been more
we were
respectful of the
talking
officer.
about the fact that imports have gone up,
Yeah,
and there's a reason for that, and
well, yeah,
one of
because
the
we're
big
getting back
reasons
to normal. We're getting
is
back to normal. Yeah, yeah.
our financial stability is sacrosanct, in my opinion, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that she should be out of there. The issue I have is that I don't want political interference of any kind from either side. I get it that there's going to be noise.
Problem is that Trump is right, and see, I can't fix stupid. And sometimes the bigger the board, the lower the IQ. Okay. And I would probably give the Federal Reserve that distinction. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, clearly the guy lowers energy prices and they think there's inflation,
Hmm.
you know, and energy prices are still going down. And, I mean, isn't that disinflationary? It doesn't go into the supply chain, all the trucks and everything. Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong.
Well,
I'm from California, and California is losing refineries and has a diesel shortage because they want the green diesel. They only want the diesel made of the bird poop or organic things.
yeah. But
And,
okay.
and and
So
so the refineries are leaving because they make all this diesel they can't sell. Okay, they have to put on a boat and send it somewhere. So, it's nice that they want to have these fights, but you still have to have diesel trucks to deliver your stuff. And that's the conundrum we're in.
historians will tell you that the number one reason for the prominence of the United States since its inception in 1776 is because of property rights and property rights without interference. And we have strengthened those property rights with a monetary system that is independent. And I don't disagree with anything that you said. I will, throw back at you that Powell was a Trump appointee. I mean, so he can intercede when it's appropriate, and it will be appropriate when Powell's term is finished. I hate the guy. He's completely incompetent, but it is more important to have the perception of independence because that's what attracts investment domestically and internationally. And all of that investment is what fuels and makes our country great. I mean, I just,
And
you're
we'll
not
be
going to convince me otherwise.
we'll be fine. I mean, I realize like the Pritzkers, that's a Hyatt hotel chain. I realize they want cheap labor. That's why they want open borders.
Yes.
But not everybody's in the hotel business. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Jay Pritzker can make his point. Um, it's the other thing that's interesting about property, where I live here, my property taxes are about 13,000 a month. Okay. And so you could argue I'm kind of renting my land.
Right.
But my new neighbors, they're paying over 40,000 a month. And they like the blockbuster around here. They like to, oh, you haven't done your house in 30 years. We'll start to harass you. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know,
Now,
the nosy neighbor.
I got questioned by three commissioners why my kids were going to a Jewish school.
Oh,
And
Lord.
because they at one time they try to keep out Jews. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And this is Florida, which is pretty Jewish. You know what I mean? So it just happened the Jewish school was the best school for the kids. One I went to Cornell and Columbia, and I went to Stanford. But the going back to the blockbusting, it's back up again. They're bugging me for um, the um, the front lawn because the when it rains, the neighbor's property floods on my property and it's full of lye and because they're doing construction.
Hmm.
That's not good for grass. So we finally had to take pictures of them and show them and I showed them where the leak's coming from. And on high tide it covers the road, but they're going after me. They go after the neighbor, you know.
Right, right.
You know, it's it's I can't stop how water flows, and I can't stop something called a spring tide, which is the water will go over the roads around here. And so it's kind of hard to have grass and salt water, you know. And so it's just interesting.
Hey,
Uh,
look, it's fun to have a bull in a china shop, but the
yeah,
bull breaks things, and that's
yeah,
all I'm saying here. I
yeah,
mean, this is so theatrical, and maybe that's why the market ignored it because the
yeah,
whole Taco Tuesday thing,
yeah.
and it's
Listen, Trump gets horrific press. Okay, I read the English press. It's horrific. Okay. I think South Park sells very good in Britain, okay, because they want to see they make fun
By
of
the
our
way,
president.
have you seen that South?
I've seen snippets of it. And I don't want to watch it, but it's
Okay,
pretty
you
horrible.
have to. I'm sorry. Irrespective of your views, I mean, I haven't had a belly laugh like that since watching,
I understand.
I don't know,
I
Beavis
I
and
understand
Butthead or
he's
something.
a caricature. I understand that, and
The South Park season premiere, I'm telling you, it's worth just watch it start to
I
finish.
understand. I understand.
You will be on the floor with tears in your eyes. It is so good. And
Yep.
again, you whether you love the guy, hate the guy, or
I know.
indifferent about the whole thing, I mean, it I'll just tell you, okay. There
No, I know about the season premiere. And
what the I don't know if this got discussed or not,
the new
but
guy, I know
but
all about that. Okay.
Cartman, is going to end it all. Okay. And there's a scene, and, not that we should be discussing suicide or depictions of suicide in jest, because it's obviously a serious matter. But what was humorous is that he convinced his buddy to end it all with him. And one of the scenes when they decide to end it all, they're in the garage in the car with a hose, apparently they're going to gas themselves to death. and and a few minutes later they're like, why isn't anything happening? And it's because they're sitting in an electric vehicle.
Oh, there you go. Well, you can't, like I say, you can't fix stupid. Yeah.
I again, that just I
Your
kind of
neighbor
stuff
to
crack.
the north, Canada,
Yeah,
is 25% of global emissions, and they're still trying to go net zero. And the main reason the 25% of global emissions is the boreal fires when their forests burn up every year. And Siberia burns up a lot too.
right.
So, there's other things causing what's happening. And I'm not anti, environmental stuff, but sometimes it gets ridiculous. And like, having to kill your herd animals to comply with CO2. Right now, California's running on CO2, so all the dairy farmers are mad. So gee, I wonder why the milk costs go up, because guess what? They're being fined by the state.
Oh
So
my.
there are consequences to everything they do. And I think they overreached. We need countries like Britain and the EU to, knock it off because they're systematically destroying their businesses.
Hmm.
Asia's destroyed more by their demographics because Japan's the highest birth rate out there. Your daughter's in Taiwan now,
Yes.
and Taiwan's I think 23 million people, but in within 40 years supposed to be only 10 million people. So
Oh wow.
that's a huge decline.
Yeah, that she's been sending me pictures, and she likes Taiwan. She often comments on how inexpensive it is there. and
Hmm.
she's a foodie, so she
Hmm.
loves the fact that she can get a gourmet meal for, $2 or something like
Hmm.
that. And
Oh yeah, the Asia's famous for the street markets. I mean, I remember Singapore. Their street markets are pretty good. Although Singapore's a more expensive place.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's who knows? I guess my point on the whole Trump thing is that there are consequences and
Well,
ramifications.
they're on a mission from God, okay, and their mission is to
Well,
have
you're
tariffs
you're you're
replace
quoting
income
you're
tax.
quoting the Blues Brothers, Louis,
Yeah, I
and
understand.
if you recall, the their entire police force and state highway patrol was incomplete.
I
Every
understand.
vehicle was destroyed.
I understand. I understand. But the quest for cheap labor, illegal labor, hurts a lot of low income people. So we'll see what happens. And Trump's not anti-immigration. You go to one of his clubs, they're all immigrants running his clubs
Oh yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they're seasonal. They run. He runs his clubs like they run ski resorts. If you go to a ski resort, you'll notice they're all from Romania or Bulgaria or someplace like that because they come over for a few months and they leave, and they're cheaper than Americans because you don't have to pay them Social Security and all that stuff.
Louis, like everything, there's a gray area, and politics and the media tend to be, simplistic and absolute, and that's to me, you know, unfortunate because it results in an uninformed populace that
Mhm.
is incapable of properly analyzing things. Speaking of analyzing, let's go back to individual stocks before we wrap up this episode, Louis. What are I guess one of the themes of August is that earnings have been really strong. Estimates are going up, and the high quality stocks that you like to buy are doing very well and continuing to do well. What are some of the things you're looking for in September? I know the Russell 2000 uh, being named to that index is an important issue for September, or is that October?
There's another Russell realignment in November, but the list will come out in October. It comes out every week for about 5 or 6 weeks, and they keep refining the additions to the Russell 1000, 2000. That really sparked the market in late May and June. And small caps are doing very, very good right now. The other reason their small caps are doing good is they're more domestic. Half the sales of the S&P are international, and they're just weak economies as soon as you leave the United States.
Yeah, you know, if there is a deflationary bomb, that means rates are going lower and small caps are
But
big
we're
beneficiaries of
we're
that.
importing deflation from China.
Right,
They've
right.
had deflation since May of 2022, and it's running at the highest annual rate, 3.6% right now.
So I know you're aware of this because I was looking for some help in doing a peg analysis this week for the publisher, and um, I came up with some wonderful names that where growth is strong and the market multiple is low. I think that for a long-term investor, that is the, in my opinion, I know you like multiple factors, but I really have honed in on this peg deal and it works like a charm. So one of the names that came up was Snap, SNAP. Um, it's a $7 stock, and my history with Peg is that it's a stock that can double in value in 1 to 3 years.
Well, that's interesting. Let's talk about Snap here real quick. So I'm looking at it, and the main thing I'd say about Snap, there's the fundamentals come up. Here we go. Their sales are supposed to be up 8.6. That's good. Um, the earnings are supposed to decline 31.9. There have been no analyst cuts. And last quarter they missed by 60.1%. So that's why it's in the doghouse.
It
Okay.
is. Yep.
And and usually when a stock gets hit, it goes into shock for up to 2 years. So they're gonna have to pull something out. So if you're gonna hold it for a 3-year hold, I'd buy it 2 years from now. Okay, I wouldn't buy it now.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
the other thing is, I'm old. I had slight rules and stuff. But when I talk fundamentals, uh, the analysts, the gatekeepers think I'm nuts.
yes,
They don't teach accounting in the schools anymore. It's very
sure.
poor. Um, and it's just and most when you pass the CFA exam, you're basically being taught indexing and you're being taught tracking. And
Hmm.
so when they look at us money managers, they say, "Oh, well, he did good because he overweighted Palantir or one another
He
stock
has
or
high
something."
beta. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't understand fundamentals. I hand them the fundamental tests and show how it decays and blah blah blah, and they just think I'm nuts. Okay,
Right.
no one's trained in accounting, and I will verify that my son, who's a private equity guy, he's only had one accounting class with two
Oh,
master's
wow.
degrees. Well,
Oh, wow.
one in engineering management, another an MBA, and 2-year MBA. And they just yeah, but he's out there doing deals. You know what I mean? So I think he learned cash flow. That's a good one. But it's an interesting time.
Well, those private equity guys are all about cash flow and multiples of cash flow
Yeah.
uh, and why that's important is because they fund their acquisitions with lots of debt and
But they're going to have to find a new value hero because Warren Buffett's retiring. Okay.
hmm.
And he somehow they jiggered United Health Group briefly, and then now it's fizzling.
Let me
But
ask you, I've been working closely with a good friend of mine who has a private client account at Morgan Stanley. And I'm just curious when somebody brings over an account to you, with let's say a $15 million stock portfolio and 75 positions. I mean, what do you run like a Zephyr analysis on the
no, yeah, we
what's your
rank them on our
process?
stock, best to worst, and we ask for permission to chip away at the bottom. But we often work with
Say that again. I missed that.
we
You'll
rank
rank
the
the
stocks
portfolio.
best to worst, top 1% to bottom 100%. Um, we have a lot of
And what
fundamental
is that
factors,
ranking based on?
our quant stuff, they off over standard deviation.
Okay.
Then we ask for permission to start chipping away at the lower end, but we often have to work with a capital gains limit. So if somebody transfers in 15 million of legacy Microsoft, Apple,
Yep.
Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, I'm not messing with it. Okay. So we have to make a decision. But and then I hand trade them out. Now, I was in the Morgan Stanley platform, and they used to have very good execution many years ago. In fact, one of their head traders called the basketball tournament perfectly. I don't know if they get to the
Oh,
brackets, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We love that trader. He was kind of a god. Okay. Anyway, he was good for basketball. Anyway, but the they McKinsey took over Morgan Stanley. And the first thing they did is they put Mike Baker in charge. And Mike Baker said, stocks are crap. Get
Mm.
out, run. So they sell private credit and they sell alternative investments.
That's where their fees are.
Correct. And that pays them a lot more. And the money management platform, they took the trading away from us. I was in it. And they would, I noticed that when we'd update our models, they would just jerk the stocks around. They weren't very good trading. So I left their platform and I literally gave them like 367 million back and says, I don't want to be in this program anymore. And at the time, I think it was up 37% for the year. And the other thing people have to realize, they were only paying us 15 basis points. But at that time, we had to pay $750,000 a year just to
To
be in the
just be on
program.
the platform, right? It's
Correct. And Invest is the same way. Invest is independent advisors. You have to pay per portfolio. They only pay 15 basis points. They
yeah,
deny
pay
you
to
best
play. Yep,
execution. So
yep.
what it is when you have a full service brokerage account and you get a stock confirmation and it says 22.11735. Anyway, it's got this weird number to it.
Yeah.
It's because you're being bid up with a bad trading pipe. So that's the main reason I sold my money management business in 2013. I was systematically being denied best execution. The other thing that was going on is a lot of firms were pushing ETFs hard because they get a bigger kickback from the Citadel. So all broker dealers get a kickback for order flow.
Mm.
But an ETF puts a spread on something that has a spread. And so it's like getting a double scoop of ice cream. And I shut down my own ETF with $80 million in it because my average spread was 3.54%. And my first specialist was Goldman and Cantor, and the spread was ridiculous. It was predominantly large cap stocks. So, I have friends that have converted from mutual funds to ETFs. They make so much money in the spreads. So Wall Street runs on a spread model, not a management model. So I'm not anti-financial advisor. There's a lot of good financial advisors, but the firms that control these guys are evil.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And then, they layer upon layer fees
They
and
want to hide everything. And
yeah,
it's even in the discount world. So TD Ameritrade, remember they used to have those corny commercials?
right.
Once you execute with them, they would send you a little notice like, hey, if you like good execution, you got to pay us. Okay.
Mhm.
And so TD Ameritrade was just a front for Virtual Financial. And then
Right.
Schwab took them over, and now they're good because
Hmm.
of Schwab.
Yeah.
So,
Schwab is good, by the way.
yeah, no, it's very interesting how it works. And but I feel really, my daughter's coming here tomorrow, and she's Morgan Stanley. She doesn't sell stocks. She just sells private credit. Her husband's Merrill Lynch. He doesn't sell stocks. He just sells private credit.
Okay.
So, I have a call with an analyst who's a good stock guy, and he's wondering why no one wants to sell his stuff. And I says, because there's nothing they're getting paid on. They can't monetize you. You know
R-
what I mean?
Right. God, that's
So
that's that's sad.
that's why I went to a direct model versus an intermediary model.
Yeah, that's your private client group, which is
Yeah.
that was a
And I
smart
feel
decision.
I feel sorry, and there's so many conflicts on Wall Street. You get analyst coverage because your company's burning money and you need to raise capital from Wall Street. So they'll kiss your ass while you're raising capital. But as soon as you don't need capital anymore, they might not be nice to you.
Yeah, it's well, it's the system we have, Louis. So
No, I know, I know, I know. But again, what makes America great is some states are good and some are not, and I happen to live in two pro business states, although I would say Nevada is nowhere near as pro business as it used to be. Mainly because we let in too many Californians, but at least we don't have an income tax yet. But we do have $3,000 a year car tags and things like that. So
there you go.
that's why I'm
Louis,
sorry I tagged my
we're at our hard cutoff, so I'm gonna ask you for one final thought as we turn the page on summer of 2025 and head into the fall. What are you thinking?
I think we're gonna have a great year in rally. We just had another double digit quarter for earnings growth. We had the biggest surprises in 39 years, according to Yardini. We got the annual Russell realignment. We got the Russell 2000 broadening out, competing with the S&P for total gains. I'm about to update my models. I'll see if the breadth and power of the models has improved. There has been a lot of mean reversion going on, but my models will will let me know just how big the silver lining critical path is that I can follow.
Well,
So
next week,
I remain very bullish. Yeah.
good. Well, next week we get the jobs report before we record, so we'll have plenty to talk about. Let's leave it at that. Thank you all for joining us. Louis Navalier, thank you for your thoughts and comments. And this is JD for the Rational Trader Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.